Hi, this is Evelyn Murray, co-founder of Family Nurturing and Caring for Family. And this is a test video to place on YouTube, to place on Facebook, just to see how it turned out. Well, Family Nurturing and Caring for Family, as many know, are working with the racial disparity and racial disproportionalities that are in the Oregon child welfare system. We are a group of family members that are not just standing here shaking in our tracks and just taking whatever the state say is evidence that we cannot have our youngest family members placed in our families. As African American grandmother, we are finding that African Americans are turned down more often as foster parents by a system that is predominantly decision makers are white. We are also finding that African American children are removed more often out of the home for longer periods of time out of the home and more than likely will not be returned home, which means that there's a cultural incompetency, cultural insensitivity toward African Americans versus their white counterparts. We're also a group of families that are discovering that the lawyers that are appointed to us by the state actually are paid by the state and they work for the state. And their loyalties are to the state that pays them. And so they're not actually going into court and challenging the allegations that are alleged against many families. There are a lot of families that are winning cases with good lawyers, and those families are suing and they're getting their children back. There are a lot of children that are aging out of the foster care system that are suing, and they can't get the childhood back, but they do get a monetary reprieve for all the suffering that they suffered in foster care. There are those children that are abandoned by their families, whether it's through alcohol or they had children and were too young to have them, or it was actually a case of abuse involving drugs or mental issues. Yet what we try to do is make sure that, and with our group of families that are usually grandmothers, we're not the actual parents of the children that we're taking. We are relatives. We are mostly African American, yet we do not discriminate. We are a multicultural group, and we raise funds 2 or 3 times a week, and we meet once a week at 310, like that 301 Northwest Broadway, inside the old historical Golden West Hotel. And that's in the cafe at the old hotel on Northwest Broadway in Everett. We meet there every Thursday from 11:30 to 1:30. Right now, we've worked on 2 cases and we actually won them by our parents, family members, going into the court as their own lawyers. When you go into the court as your own lawyer, it means that you're going in as a pro se plaintiff, which means that as your own lawyer, you can ask for a jury trial. As your own lawyer, you do the things that the state lawyer wouldn't do for you, which is ask the state to prove their allegations. The state is not used to parents or anyone questioning them. We're so in trauma from the loss of our children no longer being in the home that we just want our kids back, and we don't care what they tell us to do, we do it. Now we can actually go in and challenge them. A lot of families are not aware that when the state show up to your door that your children are not wards of the state. So when you open that door and let them walk away with your children, that's illegal, but because you didn't challenge it, you didn't close your door, and you have a right to call the police on some strangers at your door. When you call and say, do you know who these people are? You can say, no, I do not. Do they have weapons? If it's a police officer there, you can say, well, at least one of them has a weapon. Where do they have this weapon? You can say, well, that weapon is, they have it by their side. Are they pointing it at you? You can say, not yet. But you can let them say, I'm scared, just come to my house. What you're doing is creating a paper trail. Because the first visit that you get from the state is their second actually, paper trail against you. Because they're saying that there was a call. That's the first one, which is recorded. And then the next one is they go out to investigate. And what they do is they do a report. That's the second one. And what you need to do is make you a report. It is time for the state of Oregon to change the way that they do business with our families, all of our families, no matter the color of their skin. But because of our low population of African Americans and low population of Native Americans, they need to change the way they deal with children of color, families of color, and the Black community, and the Native American community, and other communities of color. If you want to get in contact with us, again, every Thursday from 11:30 to 1:30, Family Nurturing and Caring for Family are meeting at the Old Golden West Hotel located at 301 Northwest Broadway in the Old Golden West Hotel. This is just a test, and we want to hear from you. If you have any questions, we're at this time wanting to compile questions and give answers. And when we give you an answer, it's based on policy. It's based on procedure. It's of the Oregon State foster care system. It's also based on your rights under the First, Third, and Fifth Amendment, 12th, what's the other 12th, 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment. Too many families have been not denied due process of law. And another little catchy thing that I just learned recently from, what did I get that from? I got it from the Judge Susan Starsky made a statement in the newspaper about it is time for the legislative body to give the power back to the juvenile courts, which I'm wondering, wow, because I had a judge call me to her bench and say, Evelyn, I just made a recommendation. It doesn't mean that the state will follow through on it. All I can do is make recommendations. So now with this Judge Susan Starsky saying the same thing, I try to put two and two together. And then the very next day, Governor Kitzhaber, Governor of Oregon, and Aaron Kelly Seal, statewide director for the Child Welfare Department, jumps up and what they put together is an emergency press release to cover up Judge Susan Starsky's comment. Well, the cat's out of the bag. DHS, CPS, Child Welfare have the power in even a judge's juvenile court. That is something that most people don't know. But when you come in and you take your case out of the juvenile court, and once your child is taken, the first thing that you need to do is file a complaint, call the police, and file a complaint. They have to come out and take your report that the state came in and took your child, and that without cause they had no search run, they had no nothing, because that's usually how they show up. But we never know to go into court and ask them about that. And state paid lawyers are under mandate not to address those issues. So give us a call, 503-875-9200, and that's Evelyn Murray. 503-875-9200, Family Nurturing and Caring for Family. I'm a little nervous here because this is our first test video. I'm sitting here in a friend's home making a video. Tell me how it is. And if anyone else out there wants to set up and do videos on the subject, we are all for it. It takes too much time and money and effort to go into the studios on at the Portland Community Media. So we're asking for all the help we can get. If there's any retired lawyers out there who would like to come and share policies and procedures for federal. We had a mother who had her child removed because her lights were off. We had federal law says that if a family is homeless on the street, if a family lights are off and they're suffering any form of hardship, that is not child abuse, and that child should not be removed. Yet the state are removing children. Thank you. And what you see on the background is I was just testing to see if something would be better than a blank wall. And so we were having watermelon for lunch, so I thought, hey, let's try the watermelon. I think the colors, my friend just had a baby, and so I figured we use her pictures as a backdrop. And so you have any questions, I'm shooting this to Facebook and YouTube, so please get in contact with us every Thursday from 11:30 to 1:30 at the Old Golden West Hotel in John's Cafe. We have people that drop by the cafe and they pay for our meals, so there's always money on tab so that you can order off of the menu. If you have your children have just been recently taken, or grandchildren, cousins, or anything, bring your paperwork with you, okay? Because the meeting's only for 2 hours, but it doesn't mean that we can't leave there and go to another location to sit down and go over your paperwork. And what we do is we train you to go into court as your own pro se plaintiff. It's always been said that it's a fool that goes into court and defends itself. And I'm pretty sure it was a lawyer, state paid, appointed lawyer that made that statement. Because we won 3 cases and we want to share that with you. As once these kids are home and safe with their family and a federal restraining order has been in place so the state cannot come back and retaliate against them, we will also have these people get on and do a video and tell you about their case. So watch for us in the newspapers, watch for us on the streets, and watch for us out in your neighborhood. And yes, this is homemade, so no, we're not professionals. We're just family, nurturing and caring for family.